checked her weapon for the third time that hour. It was a habit she had developed over years of security work. Check everything twice, then check it again. That habit had kept her alive in places where other people had died. The trade station called Nexus was busy today. Aliens of every shape and size walked through the corridors. Some had scales, some had fur, and some looked like they were made of light. Had stopped being surprised by strange aliens a long time ago. Now she just watched them looking for threats. Her current job was simple. A delegation from the Empire was visiting the station, had been hired as extra security. They were an old and powerful species. They had tall bodies that looked like they were carved from crystal. Their skin changed colors based on their moods, shifting from blue to purple to green. They were also telepaths, which meant they could read thoughts and feel emotions from other beings. Most species thought humans were too new to the galaxy to be good at anything important. Humans had only been traveling in space for 50 years. Other species had been doing it for thousands, but did not care what they thought. She was good at her job and her prices were fair. That was enough. The princess was named. She was young for her species, maybe the equivalent of 20 in human years. Her crystalline skin glowed with a soft blue light. She wore elegant robes that seemed to float around her body. She smiled often and spoke kindly to everyone, even to who was just hired security. "You do not have to stand so stiffly," said to during the first day. "Please be comfortable." Smiled but did not relax. "I am comfortable, Your Highness. This is how I work." Looked at her with curious purple eyes. "You are different from the guards. They trust their mental senses, but you trust your eyes." "My species cannot read minds," said, "so we learn to read everything else." The diplomatic reception was held in one of the station's largest rooms. The walls were transparent, showing the stars outside. Hundreds of aliens filled the space, talking and making deals. The guards stood around Princess in a loose circle. They looked relaxed. Their telepathic senses told them that no one in the room wished harm to the princess. But did not trust telepathy. She trusted what she could see. She watched the servers moving through the crowd with trays of food and drinks. Most of them moved naturally, chatting with guests and smiling. But one server was different. This one moved with exact precision. Every step was measured. Every turn was calculated. The server did not chat or smile. It just moved. Instinct screamed at her. Something was wrong. She pushed through the crowd toward Princess. The guards looked at her with confusion. They sensed nothing wrong. Their telepathy told them the room was safe. The server was 10 feet from now. Its hand reached into the tray it carried. Started running. The server pulled out a small device. It was not food. It was a weapon. "Down!" shouted. She crashed into Princess, wrapping her arms around the alien woman and pulling her to the floor. The princess cried out in surprise. The guards finally understood something was wrong, but they were too slow. A beam of energy screamed through the air where had been standing. It was bright and loud. The beam hit the transparent wall behind them, and the wall cracked. Alarms started blaring throughout the station. Covered's body with her own. She felt the princess shaking beneath her. More guards rushed forward, finally drawing their weapons. The server tried to fire again, but a guard shot it first. The server collapsed. When it hit the ground, everyone could see it was not a living being. It was a robot, a machine built to kill. The room erupted in chaos. Aliens screamed and ran for the exits. Station security poured in from every door, stayed on top of, protecting her until she was certain the danger had passed. "You can get up now," one of the guards said. His voice was stiff and embarrassed. He had not seen the threat. None of them had. Stood and helped to her feet. The princess's skin was flashing rapid colors, blue to white to purple. She was in shock. "You saved my life," whispered. "You saw what we could not see." "It was not alive," explained. "Your telepathy reads living minds. That was a machine. It had no mind to read." The head of security was a stern male who looked angry with himself. "How did you know?" he asked. "It moved wrong," said simply. "Too perfect. Living beings are not perfect. We hesitate, we adjust. That thing moved like a machine because it was a machine." The investigation happened quickly. Station security traced the robot back to a cargo shipment. Someone had programmed it to kill Princess. The assassination was planned by enemies of the Empire, people who wanted to start a war. Thought her job was done. She expected to receive her payment and move on to the next contract. But then Queen Navi arrived. The Queen came to the station on a massive warship. She was taller than her daughter, and her crystalline body glowed with a deep, powerful purple light. She radiated authority. When she walked into a room, everyone stopped and stared. Was brought before the Queen. She felt small standing in front of such a powerful being. Queen Navi's eyes seemed to look straight through her. "You saved my daughter's life," the Queen said. Her voice was musical but firm. "The guards failed, but you did not." "I was just doing my job, Your Majesty," replied. "No," the Queen said. "You did more than your job. You risked your own life to protect. You threw yourself between her and death." The Queen's skin shifted to a warm gold color. "I owe you a debt that can never be repaid." Felt uncomfortable. "You do not owe me anything. I was paid to protect her." "You do not understand," said softly. She stood beside her mother. "In our culture, a life debt is sacred. You are now part of our family, bonded to us." Queen Navi stepped closer too. "I invite you to return with us to our. You will be honored and cared for. You will want for nothing." Blinked. "That is very generous, but I have other contracts. I need to work." "Cancel them," the Queen said. "It was not a suggestion. You will come with us. My daughter needs a protector who can see what we cannot see. You have proven yourself invaluable." Something in the Queen's tone made nervous. This did not sound like a simple job offer. This sounded like something else. "Your Majesty, I appreciate the offer, but—" "It is decided," Queen Navi said. Her voice had turned cold. "You saved my daughter. You are now under my protection and responsibility. Prepare to leave with us tomorrow." The Queen turned and walked away, gave an apologetic look before following her mother. Stood alone in the corridor, her mind racing. She had just saved a princess and somehow ended up trapped. As she walked back to her quarters, she wondered what she had gotten herself into. Outside her window, the warship waited, beautiful and imposing against the stars. Tomorrow, she would board it. Tomorrow, her life would change in ways she could not yet imagine. She checked her weapon one more time, though she did not know why. Somehow, she knew that the fight to protect Princess was just beginning. But now, she also had to figure out how to protect herself. The planet was beautiful in a way that hurt to look at. Everything seemed to glow. The buildings were made of crystal that caught the light and scattered it into rainbows. Gardens filled with plants that pulsed with soft bioluminescent light lined every street. 3 moons hung in the purple sky. Stood on the balcony of her room in the royal palace and tried not to feel like a prisoner. Her quarters were larger than her entire apartment back on Earth. She had a bed that adjusted to her body temperature, walls that could change color with a thought, and a bathroom with a pool instead of a shower. Everything was perfect. Everything was luxurious. Everything felt like a cage. She had been on for 3 weeks. At first she thought she was a guest. Queen Navi had welcomed her with a ceremony. She was given gifts, jewelry made of living crystal, clothes that never got dirty, access to any part of the palace she wanted. Princess visited her every day, teaching her about culture and history. But when mentioned going home after a month, everything changed. "Go home," Queen Navi had said, her crystalline skin flashing from gold to sharp red. "Why would you want to leave?" "I have a life," had explained. "I have work, I have friends, I need to go back." The Queen's face had become cold. "You are guardian now. That is not a temporary position. You will stay here where you belong." Your Majesty, I never agreed to be a permanent guardian. I thought this was just a visit. You saved my daughter's life, Navi said, her voice hard. That creates a bond that cannot be broken. You are part of our family now. You cannot leave family. Had tried to argue, but the Queen would not listen. When went to the spaceport the next day to book passage on a ship, the guards stopped her. They were polite but firm. She was not allowed to leave the planet without the Queen's permission, and the Queen was not giving permission. Was trapped. She tried again a week later, using a different identity and a fake pass, but the guards caught her before she reached the ship. This time, they escorted her back to the palace with apologetic smiles. You are not a prisoner, one guard had said. You are family. We only want to keep you safe and happy. But knew the difference. A person who could not leave was a prisoner, no matter how nice the cell was. Came to visit her that evening. The young princess looked miserable. Her skin was a dull gray color that meant sadness in body language. I am so sorry, said quietly. I never wanted this for you. Then help me leave, said, trying to keep the anger out of her voice. It was Not's fault. I cannot go against my mother, said. In our culture, defying the Queen is unthinkable, especially for family. And my mother, she is not thinking clearly right now. What do you mean? Sat down, her robes pooling around her like liquid light. My mother had another daughter before me. My older sister, she was killed 5 years ago by assassins. My mother was not there to protect her. The guilt has haunted her ever since. Felt her anger soften slightly, and now she almost lost you. Yes, said, and you stopped it. You saved me when she could not. In her mind, you are the only one who can keep me safe. She cannot let you go because, his voice broke, because she is terrified of losing another daughter, and she believes that if you leave, I will die. That is not rational, said. I know, whispered, but grief is not rational. Love is not rational. My mother loves me so much that it has become a kind of madness. Walked to the window and looked out at the glowing city. She understood trauma. She had seen people do irrational things because they were scared, but understanding did not make her less trapped. What about your father? Asked. Can he talk to her? My father died when I was young, said. It is just my mother and me now. She lost her mate, then her eldest daughter. I am all she has left. The weight of that statement settled on like a stone. She was caught in the middle of a family's grief and love. Days turned into weeks, tried to make the best of the situation. She trained in the palace gym, pushing her human body to its limits. She studied the language and customs. She spent time with who had become a genuine friend despite the circumstances. But at night, stared at the ceiling and felt the walls closing in. She heard rumors that human diplomats were demanding her release. The government responded that was not being held against her will. She was an honored guest who had chosen to stay. The lie made one scream. One evening, was walking through the palace gardens when she encountered Queen Navi. The queen was alone, which was rare. She stood by a fountain, her hand trailing in the glowing water. Do you hate me? The queen asked without looking at. Considered lying but decided on honesty. I do not hate you, your majesty, but I do not understand you. I lost my eldest daughter to assassins, Navi said softly. I was in a meeting when it happened. I was not there to protect her. I felt her die through our telepathic bond. I felt her fear and pain, and I could do nothing. The queen's skin turned dark blue, almost black. When was attacked, I felt that same terror again. And then you appeared. You, a human, did what I could not do. You saved her. I was just. Do not say you were just doing your job, Navi interrupted. You threw yourself in front of a weapon. You could have died. That is not just a job. That is love. That is family. Took a breath. In human culture, family is something you choose, not something forced upon you. Real love means letting people be free. And in culture, family is a bond that cannot be broken, Navi replied. Your freedom means my daughter's death. Can you not see that? Every instinct I have tells me that if you leave, I will lose her." "But that is not true," said gently. "Perhaps not," the queen said, "but I cannot take that risk. I cannot lose another daughter." She finally looked at, and her eyes were filled with desperate pain. "I know I am being unfair to you. I know you did not ask for this, but I cannot let you go. I cannot." Saw the queen as she truly was, not a powerful ruler, but a mother broken by loss and fear. For the first time, felt something other than anger. She felt pity. That night made a decision. She could not escape. She could not convince the queen to release her, but maybe she could find another way. She began to study everything she could about security and politics. She listened to palace gossip. She paid attention to the guards and their routines. She learned that the assassination attempt on was not an isolated incident. There had been other attempts, all narrowly stopped. Someone was targeting the royal family systematically, and they were using methods specifically designed to bypass telepathy. If could find who was behind the attacks, if she could eliminate the real threat, then maybe the queen would finally feel safe. And maybe, just maybe, she would let go. Stood on her balcony and looked up at the 3 moons. She was trapped, but she was not helpless. She was a human, and humans were good at solving problems. She would find the people trying to kill, she would stop them, and then she would earn her freedom the hard way. Princess found her there an hour later. "What are you thinking about?" the princess asked. Smiled. "I am thinking about how to save you one more time. But this time, I am saving you from the people who keep trying to kill you. And when I do, your mother will have to let me go." Looked hopeful for the first time in weeks. "You really think you can find them?" "I am human," said. "We are very good at hunting threats. It is what we do." Spent the next month learning everything she could about the attempts on Princess' life. She requested access to security reports, and to her surprise, Queen Navi granted it. Perhaps the queen sensed that was trying to help rather than escape. The pattern became clear quickly. Over the past 2 years, there had been 7 assassination attempts on members of the royal family. 3 targeted Queen Navi herself. 4 targeted Princess. All of them used non-living weapons, robots, drones, timed explosives. Things that had no mind for the telepaths to sense. "Your people rely too much on your telepathy," told Captain, the head of the royal guard. He was a tall male with dark purple skin and a warrior's build. He did not like much. She was an outsider who had made him and his guards look incompetent. "Our telepathy has protected us for thousands of years," said stiffly. "And now someone figured out how to bypass it," replied. "They know your weakness. They are exploiting it." Skin flashed angry red, but he did not argue. He knew she was right. Proposed a deal to Queen Navi. She would train the royal guards in human threat detection methods. She would help them see dangers that their telepathy could not sense, and she would find whoever was behind the assassination attempts. In exchange, once the threat was eliminated and was truly safe, the queen would let leave. The queen stared at her for a long moment. "You would do this, knowing that once you succeed you can go?" "Yes," said firmly. "I do not want to leave in danger, but I also will not live in a cage forever. This is the compromise." Queen Navi's skin shifted through several colors, purple, gold, blue, then finally green, which meant agreement. "Very well, find the threat, eliminate it, make my daughter safe, and then," the queen's voice caught, "then I will let you go." Assembled a team. Captain joined reluctantly, still nursing his wounded pride. A young guard named volunteered immediately. He was curious about humans and eager to learn new methods. An intelligence analyst named also joined. She was fascinated by human deductive reasoning. "Your species cannot read minds," said during their first meeting. "So you developed other ways to find truth. You look at patterns, evidence, behavior. It is so different from how we think." "Different does not mean worse," said. "No," agreed. "Just different, and perhaps that is what we need right now." They started by reviewing all the assassination attempts in detail, taught them to look at things the way a human would: timing, opportunity, method, materials. Who had access? Who benefited? Who had the knowledge to build untraceable weapons? Learned quickly. I never thought about security this way, he said. We always just sensed intent, but these attacks have no intent we can feel. Because they come from machines, explained. But machines do not build themselves. Someone living and thinking planned these attacks. We need to find that person. The investigation led them to examine the palace staff, not because suspected the servants, but because someone had to be getting the weapons into the palace. They found something interesting. 3 different servants had resigned or disappeared in the weeks before major attempts on life. That cannot be coincidence, said, her skin flashing white with excitement. They traced the servants back to a hearing agency. The agency had records showing these servants were hired specifically to work at the palace during high-security events. But when it went to investigate the agency, they found it had closed down. The owner had vanished. This is organized, said, grudging respect in his voice. Whoever is doing this has been planning for a long time. Reviewed financial records with. They looked for unusual payments, large sums of money moving between accounts. It was tedious work, but humans were patient when hunting prey. Then they found it. Large payments from a shell corporation to the hearing agency. More payments to weapons dealers. All the transactions were carefully hidden, but not hidden well enough from someone who knew where to look. The shell corporation traced back to a noble family, specifically to Lord Wu, a high-ranking member of the government. That cannot be right, said, his skin turning shocked white. Lord Wu is a respected leader. He has served the royal family for decades. Respected people can still be dangerous, said. In fact, they are more dangerous because everyone trusts them. They investigated deeper. Lord Wu had been making speeches about how the empire had grown weak. He believed they should conquer other species rather than trade with them. He thought the royal family was too soft, too peaceful. He wants a war, said quietly. He thinks we should rule the galaxy through force. And a dead royal family would leave a power vacuum, added. He could seize control and turn the into something different, something aggressive. But we need proof, said. We cannot accuse a noble lord without solid evidence. That was when discovered something crucial. Lord Wu was planning something big. There was a ceremonial gathering scheduled in 2 weeks. Both Queen Navi and Princess would attend together, something that happened rarely for security reasons. It would be the perfect opportunity to kill them both at once. We need to cancel the ceremony, said immediately. No, said. If we cancel, he will just try again later. We need to catch him in the act. We need undeniable proof. You want to use the Queen and Princess as bait, looked horrified. I want to use decoys, explained. We use holographic technology to make me and look like them. The ceremony happens as planned, but the real Queen and Princess stay safe. When the attack comes, we catch the attackers and trace them back to Wu. That is insane, said. Humans truly are crazy. Maybe, admitted, but it will work. Your people would never think to use holograms because you rely on psychic identification. But Wu's weapons do not use psychic targeting. They use visual and heat signatures. The holograms will fool them. They argued for hours. Captain thought the plan was too risky, worried about all the things that could go wrong, even seemed nervous about pretending to be royalty. But was insistent. We need to end this threat completely. Half measures will not work. We catch him now or he keeps trying forever. Finally, they took the plan to Queen Navi. The Queen listened in silence, her skin shifting through colors as she processed the information. Princess sat beside her mother, her face showing clear fear. You want to put yourself in danger, the Queen said too, again. Yes, replied, it is what I do. And you think this will work? I know it will work. Humans have used similar tactics for thousands of years. We are good at setting traps." Queen Navi looked at her daughter. They seemed to have a silent conversation through their telepathic bond. Finally, the queen turned back to, "Very well, we will do it your way. But if anything goes wrong, if you or my daughter are harmed, the deal is off. You will never leave this planet." "Understood," said, "but nothing will go wrong, trust me." The queen's laugh was bitter. "Trust, that is such a human concept. My people trust feelings and bonds. You humans trust plans and logic." Her skin shifted to a deep purple. "I suppose I have no choice but to trust your human methods now." Over the next 2 weeks they prepared and studied how Queen Navi and Princess moved, how they spoke, how they held themselves. The holographic technology was tested repeatedly. They mapped out every inch of the ceremony hall, identifying potential attack vectors. Also prepared weapons and defensive positions. She taught and his guards how to respond to threats they could not sense telepathically, how to watch for visual cues, how to trust their eyes and instincts. "You are changing how we think about security," admitted one evening. "Perhaps humans are not as primitive as we believed." "We are not primitive," said with a slight smile. "Just different, and sometimes different is exactly what you need." The night before the ceremony, Princess came to his room. The young princess looked scared. "What if the plan fails?" asked. "What if you get hurt?" "I will not get hurt," said with more confidence than she felt. "I have survived worse. My mother will never forgive herself if something happens to you. Despite everything, she has come to care for you. We both have." Felt a strange warmth in her chest. "I care about you too, both of you. That is why I am doing this." The day of the ceremony arrived. Put on the holographic disguise and became Queen Navi, became Princess. The real queen and princess were hidden in a secure location with half the royal guard. Stood in the ceremony hall wearing another person's face and waited for death to come calling. She was ready. The ceremony hall was filled with nobles and dignitaries. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, casting rainbow light across the polished floor. Musicians played soft melodies in the corner. Everything looked peaceful and elegant. Stood on the raised platform wearing the holographic disguise of Queen Navi. To everyone in the room, she looked exactly like the queen. The hologram covered her completely, changing her height, her appearance, even the color of her skin. But underneath, she was still human, and her heart was beating fast. Beside her, War Princess's face. He was nervous, could see it in the way he held his shoulders too stiff. She touched his arm gently, a gesture that looked like the queen comforting her daughter. "Breathe," she whispered. "Stay calm, we have practiced this." Around the room, Captain and his guards were positioned at every exit. They looked relaxed, but knew they were watching everything with new awareness. She had trained them to see threats the way humans did. Now they would find out if the training worked. Scanned the crowd looking for anything unusual. Her human pattern recognition was working overtime, processing faces, movements, and behaviors. Most of the nobles were talking and laughing, but some were nervous, and a few kept glancing at the exits. Those were the ones to watch. The ceremony began. A priest spoke words of blessing over the queen and princess, stood still and tried to look regal while her instincts screamed that danger was coming. Then she saw it. 3 servants moving through the crowd carrying trays. They moved with that same mechanical precision she had seen on the trade station. These were not living servants. These were robots. "Contact in 5 seconds," said quietly. She wore a small communicator hidden under the hologram. 3 targets, northwest, west, and southwest positions. His voice came back instantly. "Confirmed, we see them." The robot servants reached into their trays. Time seemed to slow down, grabbed and pulled him behind a pillar just as weapons fired. Energy beams tore through the space where they had been standing. The holographic projectors sparked and died, revealing and for who they really were. Nobles screamed and ran in every direction. The ceremony hall erupted into chaos, but was ready for chaos. She drew her weapon and fired at the nearest robot. Her shot was perfect, hitting its central processor. The machine collapsed. Captain and his guards opened fire on the other two robots, destroying them quickly. But the attack was not over. The ceiling exploded. Chunks of crystal rained down as drones dropped through the opening. There were at least a dozen of them, each armed with weapons. They spread out across the hall, searching for targets. "They are looking for the real queen and princess," shouted over the noise. "Then we lead them away," said. She ran toward the east exit, firing at drones as she moved. "This way, follow me." Several drones turned and chased her. Good. The more attention on her, the less danger for the real royal family. Ran through the palace corridors with drones on her trail. She ducked around corners, slid behind pillars, and returned fire whenever she had a clear shot. Her human endurance was being tested. Could not run as long or as far as humans could, but had been training for this her whole life. She led the drones into a section of the palace she had prepared earlier. Automated defense turrets activated, and the drones were caught in crossfire. Most were destroyed, but 2 got through. Felt a searing pain in her shoulder as an energy beam grazed her. She ignored it. Pain was just information. It told her she was hurt, but not how badly. She could worry about that later. She shot one drone out of the air. The second one fired again and dove behind a statue. The beam missed her but destroyed part of the statue. Crystal shards exploded everywhere. Captain appeared from a side corridor and shot the last drone. It fell to the ground, smoking. "You are injured," said, staring at the burn on shoulder. "I am fine," said through gritted teeth. The pain was getting worse now that the adrenaline was fatting. "Where is?" "Safe. He made it to the secure room, but there are more attackers. Living ones this time. They are trying to breach the Queen's location." Pushed herself to her feet. "Then we stop them." "Where?" "The north wing, come on." They ran together through the palace. Matched her pace, even though was limping now. The injury was slowing her down, but she forced herself to keep moving. They found the attackers at the entrance to the secure room. 5 mercenaries were trying to cut through the reinforced door. They wore armor that blocked telepathic scanning, which explained why the guards had not sensed them coming. "Drop your weapons," commanded. The mercenaries turned and opened fire. Shield generator absorbed most of the blasts, but had no shield. She took cover behind a pillar and returned fire. The battle was brutal and close. Human training in hand-to-hand combat became useful when one mercenary got too close. She disarmed him with moves she had learned in Earth's military, then used his own weapon against his companions. Fought with the grace of a trained warrior. Together, they took down 3 mercenaries. The other 2 tried to escape, but palace guards arrived and captured them. Leaned against the wall, breathing hard. Her shoulder was bleeding badly now and she felt dizzy, but they had won. The attack was over. "We need to get you to medical," said. For the first time he looked at with genuine respect. "You fought well, human, better than I expected." "Humans are tougher than we look," managed to say before her legs gave out. Caught her before she hit the ground. "Yes," he said, "I am beginning to understand that." Woke up in the palace medical center. Her shoulder was wrapped in regenerative bandages that tingled as they worked. Princess sat beside her bed, her skin showing worried blue colors. "You scared us," said softly. "You were badly hurt." "But I am alive," replied. "And so are you, that is what matters." "We caught the mercenaries," continued. "They confessed everything. Lord Wu hired them. He planned the whole thing. The guards arrested him an hour ago." Felt relief wash over her. "So it is over. The threat is eliminated." "Yes," a new voice said. Queen Navi entered the room, her skin showing complex patterns of emotion. "Thanks to you. You were right about everything. You set the perfect trap. You caught our enemy." The queen sat down on the other side of bed. "You risked your life for us again, even knowing you could die, even knowing my daughter and I were safe in a different location. You still put yourself in danger to draw the attackers away from innocent people." "It was the right thing to do," said simply. "Why?" the queen asked. "Why do you care so much about people you did not even know 6 months ago, people who trapped you here against your will?" Thought about the question carefully. "Because that is what humans do. We protect others, even strangers, even people who have hurt us. It is who we are." Queen Navi's eyes filled with something that looked like tears, though did not cry the way humans did. "I have been so unfair to you. I kept you here like a prisoner because I was afraid, because I could not let go of my fear. But you stayed anyway, you helped anyway, you cared about us anyway." "I made a deal," reminded her. "I eliminate the threat and you let me go." "Yes," the queen said quietly. "The deal, you held up your end, now I must hold up mine." She stood and faced directly. "You are free to leave, I will not stop you. I will arrange transport on the fastest ship. You can go home." Looked at the queen, then at Princess. She saw the pain in both their faces, the fear of losing someone else they cared about. And suddenly realized something. Somewhere along the way, during all the training and investigating and fighting, she had stopped feeling trapped. She had made friends here, real friends. She had found purpose. She had made a difference. "I need to think about some things," said slowly. "Can I have time before I decide?" Both Queen Navi and Princess looked surprised. "You do not want to leave immediately?" asked. "I want to go home," said, "but maybe I also want to come back, on my own terms this time." Queen Navi's skin shifted to bright gold. "You would return, willingly?" "Maybe," said with a small smile. "Let me think about it." Spent 3 days recovering from her injuries. The medical technology was amazing. Her shoulder healed completely, leaving not even a scar. But the time in the medical center gave her something more valuable than healing. It gave her time to think. Captain visited her on the 2nd day. He stood awkwardly at the foot of her bed, his skin showing embarrassed purple patterns. "I wanted to apologize," he said stiffly. "When you first arrived, I thought you were just a primitive human who got lucky. I was wrong. You are a skilled warrior and a clever strategist. You have my respect." Smiled. "Thank you, Captain. That means a lot." "I also wanted to offer you something," straightened his shoulders. "An honorary position in the Royal Guard. You could train our forces in human combat techniques. You could help us see the threats we cannot sense. We need someone like you." "I will think about it," said. Visited next, bringing flowers from the palace gardens. "I learned more from you in 3 months than I learned in 3 years of regular training," the young guard said. "You taught me to trust more than just my telepathy. You taught me to trust my eyes and my instincts too." Came with data pads full of analysis. "I have been studying human investigative methods," the analyst said excitedly. "The way you look at patterns and evidence is fascinating. I think combining human logic with intuition could revolutionize how we approach problems." Everyone wanted something from. Everyone had plans for her future. But what did want? On the 3rd day, Princess came alone. She sat beside bed and said nothing for a long moment. Her skin kept shifting colors, blue, purple, gold, green, showing the complexity of her emotions. "I do not want you to leave," finally said. "But I know you must. You need to be free. I understand that now." "Your mother taught you that?" asked. "No," said with a sad smile. "You taught me that. Watching you fight for your freedom while still caring about us taught me what real strength looks like, and it made me realize something about myself." "What is that?" "I do not want to be a princess anymore," said quietly. "I want to explore the galaxy like you do. I want to see other worlds and meet other species. I want to be free too." Sat up carefully. "Have you told your mother?" "Not yet. I am afraid. She already lost one daughter to violence. If I tell her I want to leave the safety of the palace, his voice trailed off. She will be terrified, finished. But you cannot live your whole life trying to protect your mother from her fears. That is not fair to you, and it is not healthy for her either. I know, but I do not know how to tell her. Thought for a moment. Maybe I can help with that, but first, I need to have a conversation with your mother myself. Queen Navi came that evening. She entered the medical room quietly and sat down with the heavy grace of someone carrying a great burden. You are healing well, the Queen said. Yes, your doctors are excellent. They sat in uncomfortable silence for a moment, then spoke. I need to tell you something, Your Majesty, and I need you to really listen. The Queen's skin shifted to attentive green. I am listening. You have been holding on so tightly to the people you love because you are afraid of losing them. I understand that. I understand grief and fear. But Your Majesty, by holding so tight, you are hurting the people you are trying to protect. The Queen's skin flashed defensive red, but continued. I do not hate you for keeping me here. I was angry, yes, but I also understand why you did it. You were trying to keep your daughter safe in the only way you knew how, but love should not feel like a cage. Safety should not feel like prison. I was trying to protect both of you, the Queen said, her voice breaking. I know, but you cannot protect people from everything, and you should not try to, because real protection is not about controlling where people go or what they do. Real protection is about giving them the tools they need to protect themselves. Queen Navi was quiet for a long time. Her skin shifted through many colors, red, blue, purple, black, then finally a soft, vulnerable pink. I have been afraid for so long, the Queen whispered. Ever since died, I have been ruled by fear, and when you saved, I thought I had found the answer. If I could just keep you here, keep you close, then would always be safe. But that was not fair to you, and it was not even logical. No, agreed gently. It was not, but I forgive you. The Queen looked up with surprise. You forgive me? Yes, because I understand, and because holding on to anger would only hurt both of us. The Queen stood and walked to the window. She stared out at the glowing city for a long moment. When she turned back, her skin was the gold color of decision. You are right about everything. I have been selfish and cruel even if I did not mean to be. You deserve your freedom. You always deserved it. The Queen took a deep breath. When you are fully healed, I will personally escort you to a ship. You can go home, and I will never try to stop you again. Thank you, said, then she smiled. But I have a counter-proposal. The Queen looked wary. What kind of proposal? Let me go home for a while. I need to see my friends and family. I need to touch Earth's soil again and breathe air that does not glow. But after that, I would like to come back, not as a prisoner or even as an employee, as a friend and ally. The Queen stared at her in disbelief. You would come back willingly? Yes, I have learned a lot here. I have met good people. Captain needs help modernizing your security forces. Wants to study human investigative methods, needs more training, and, paused, needs someone who understands what freedom means. What do you mean? Your daughter wants to explore the galaxy, Your Majesty. She told me, and she is too afraid to tell you because she knows you will try to stop her. The Queen's skin went white with shock, then dark blue with sadness. She wants to leave me too. No, said firmly, she loves you. But she also needs to live her own life, and if you truly love her, you will let her. What if something happens to her out there? Then something happens. That is the risk of living. You cannot protect her from everything, Your Majesty, but you can teach her to protect herself, and you can make sure she has good friends to watch her back. The Queen looked at with new understanding. Friends like you. Yes. When is ready to explore the galaxy, I will be her guide, not her guard or her keeper, her friend, someone who will show her the wonders of the universe while teaching her how to spot the dangers. The Queen was quiet for a very long time. Then slowly, Her skin shifted to peaceful green. "You are asking me to let go of my last daughter." "No," corrected. "I am asking you to trust your daughter and to trust me." "That is very hard." "I know, but it is necessary." The queen walked over and placed her crystalline hand on human one. "You saved life twice now, once from assassins and once from me. I think you might be the best thing that ever happened to our family." 2 weeks later stood at the spaceport, ready to board a ship to Earth. Princess hugged her tightly. "Promise you will come back," said. "I promise. Give me 3 months. Then I will return and we can start planning your grand adventure." Queen Navi stood nearby, her skin showing sad blue colors but also hopeful gold. "Thank you for everything, for saving my daughter, for opening my eyes, for teaching me what love really means." "Thank you for letting me go," replied, "and for trusting me enough to let me come back." Captain stepped forward and handed a small crystal pendant. "This is a communication crystal. It is linked to the royal family. If you ever need help, or if we ever need you, we can reach each other across any distance." Put the pendant around her neck. It felt warm against her skin, pulsing with gentle light. "I will see you all soon," she said. Then she turned and walked toward the ship. As the ship lifted off looked out the window at the glowing planet below. She was finally free. She was finally going home, but she did not feel the relief she expected. Instead, she felt a strange mix of happiness and sadness. She had come to this world as a prisoner. She was leaving as a friend, and in 3 months she would return by choice. The crystal pendant pulsed warmly against her chest, a constant reminder of the bonds she had formed. Not bonds of obligation or fear, but bonds of genuine friendship and mutual respect. Smiled. Humans were good at many things, fighting, investigating, surviving. But maybe the most human thing of all was this: the ability to turn enemies into friends, to find family in unexpected places, and to choose connection over isolation. She was going home, but she was also carrying home with her in her heart. And soon she would have 2 homes, 2 families, 2 worlds to call her own. The ship jumped to faster-than-light speed, and the stars blurred around her, touched the crystal pendant and whispered a promise to the universe. "I will be back, and when I return, we will show Princess the wonders of the galaxy together. We will teach her to be strong and free. And maybe, just maybe, we will help her mother learn that letting go is the greatest act of love." The pendant pulsed in response, warm and bright, like a heartbeat made of light. Closed her eyes and smiled. The adventure was just beginning.